Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, broadcasting live from the Next News headquarters on this day in history, September 2nd, 1945. Japan formally surrendered aboard the USS Missouri, ending World War II. America demanded unconditional surrender and got it. Well, today, President Trump just issued his own terms from the Oval Office to the cartels, to Chicago's failed leaders, and to everyone who thought they could destroy him with lies. Surrender is their only option. Share the stream right now. Text it to your friends. Repost it on X. Let's bypass their algorithms together. We're streaming live to millions worldwide on YouTube, plus our Patriots on Rumble and X. So you need to follow us on all three platforms, because what we're revealing today will have them scrambling to shut us down. Because today we're going to be reading your super chats and Rumble rants between segments, featuring them on screen for the world to see. So send them in right now. The show is about to explode. And what sets the Raw Feed apart is we don't just report, we interact with you in real time, getting your reactions as history unfolds. And of course, today, history is being written from the Oval Office. And if you want to support truth-telling journalism, hit those donation links in the description, because we are funded by the Patriots. That's right, you guys right here. Now, of course, this day in history does harken back to a moment when we were at war, but the war for freedom continues every single day. We need you to help us fight that war, and that's why I always say you need to share this on all your platforms. You need to text it to your friends. And of course, your super chats and Rumble rants, they are the lifeblood of this show. Now remember, we do interact with you in real time, because with history opening in the Oval Office, it makes it every single day. So hit the donation links in the description. We're funded by Patriots and not corporations. You can also join the YouTube channel memberships for exclusive perks and special chat recognition. Behind-the-scenes access to our 24/7 members-only Discord. Each level unlocks more ways to connect with the Next News team. Also, check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Our limited edition Alligator Alcatraz merch and President Otto Penn American Badass series let you wear your rebellion with pride. Now, breaking news is pouring in faster than we can process. Trump dropping bombshells from the Oval Office that change everything. From the Trump death hoax, while Democrats celebrate fake death rumors and lost their jobs over it, Trump emerged golfing, and Bill Clinton spotted with a defibrillator. And the real death that occurred, well, the media won't touch it because it destroys their narrative. And, of course, Trump just authorized the first strikes against Venezuelan cartels. Maduro is begging as his drug empire burns. 3 warships, nuclear subs, precision strikes. This morning's operation was just phase 1 of the 43-country assault on the Cartel networks. We've got the video of the attack. It is just coming in. From the Oval, Trump also addressed Chicago's bloodbath, 53 shot, 8 dead. He's ordered military assets to Great Lakes Naval Base, ready to move the second that Brandon Johnson stops blocking federal help. Johnson's response, leading protests while children die in his streets. And Stuart Rhodes walks free after Trump's pardon, but they are trying to silence him again. The same people promoting Trump assassination fantasies want to shut down a man who never even entered the Capitol. The hypocrisy is staggering. And mark your calendar, September 10th through the 12th. Turning the Tide 2025 hits Washington, D.C. And get this, Senator Ron Johnson, former congressman, CIA whistleblowers, all converging to expose 9/11 truth, Building 7's collapse, hidden documents, forbidden questions finally getting answered in Washington, D.C. Now each story connects. Fake death wishes exposed, real military action launched, political prisoners freed, truth conferences announced. The establishment built their power on lies, violence, and silence. Today, from the Oval Office, Trump is dismantling it all. So get ready for an unfiltered dive into the news they're desperately trying to hide. We've got the tweets, we've got the videos, and the connections that terrify them all. This is the Raw Feed, where the truth isn't just reported. It's weaponized. Let's welcome you to the show. Who is in the house today? Let's see. Let's check in with the chat. We got Patty and Tep and Vin and Pooh and Mrs. Pothead Kenny in the house. Good to see everybody here. Good morning from Cambodia. Cambodia needs peace. We got Jeremy Olson here. Tracy Belmer in the house. Hi, Tracy. Who else is here? Let's see. We got Michael and Screaming Eagle and Scontech and Steve. Biden was our greatest president. I'm not sure what you're drinking over there, buddy. Who else is in the house? We got Tamara Jennings in the house, Patrick Onesti, Mike Taylor News. Who else? Pothead Kenny's here. Johnny Rodriguez. We got La Walker, Jumpin' Johnny, Laura Tier in Texas, Tyson Curie, Brian Whitehead, Unveil Truth, Sure You in the house. What's up? Judy Whitaker, Patricia Duff, Mike Dixon in Austin. Lots of drama down there in Austin these days. Let's see, but who else is in the house? We got Chino and James Bond is here. We got Gail in Ohio, Sifu Mech from Virginia. We got Jay Silver, Greg King, Sure You. Jelana Lamb, good evening. Unveil Truth in North Carolina. We got all the gang in the house. So we have to get into the news. We do not want to wait any longer because if you didn't hear it, Donald Trump, he is alive and well, despite what everybody would have you believe. Now, let me just get a couple more things just set up here so I can make sure I read everything from you guys clearly, and we will get this show on the road. They wished him dead. They celebrated his death. They posted about it online. But while they were dancing on Trump's grave, something else was happening they didn't want you to see. Bill Clinton was spotted at the airport with medical equipment that raised some real serious questions. And on the very same day, a shocking death did occur, but it wasn't who they thought. The photos of bruised hands sent liberals into a frenzy. The silence from Mar-a-Lago had them popping champagne, but the truth about what really happened this weekend will destroy their entire narrative. And the evidence is shocking, the timing is suspicious, and what it reveals about who's really in trouble will change everything. So make sure you don't look away. Now, let me ask you something. If you've built up $100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of it riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the same kind the big players are buying. Visit nextnewsgold.com today. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down below. It's time to protect what you have built. The number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Tell them over there, Gary Franchi says hello. Now, this was the photo that was posted 48 hours ago. This photo of Bill and Hillary Clinton is going viral as more people start to notice. So what exactly is that device? Well, it appears to be a defibrillator. Bill and Hillary Clinton traveling with a defibrillator. Questions are starting to surround the Clintons as to what exactly why they need such a device. Paul Zabula writing, Bill Clinton hasn't been doing well for a long time. And here's some more unrelated posts here, but I'm going to get to the point. Let's see, where was it here? It is a defibrillator. Spot the difference, right? Bill Clinton carries a medical defibrillator. Donald Trump is out playing golf. Give the people what they want. Hillary Clinton behind bars, Barack Obama behind bars, and Joe Biden behind bars. Bill Clinton seen with a defibrillator at the Hamptons airport. This was going viral while people were questioning if Donald Trump was alive. Right? So while the whole world is talking about Donald Trump, nobody's looking at what's happening with Bill Clinton. And of course, speaking of Donald Trump and news of his demise, we have this posted an hour ago. The would-be Trump assassin Ryan Routh proposes to let a round of golf with the president settle his case. He wins, he can execute me. If I win, I get his job. That is what the would-be assassin Ryan Routh is now saying, according to documents from his case. And now Donald Trump was asked today about the rumors We're going to get into all of that. And, of course, what happened, the actual death that occurred. That's rather sad. But let's get to the Oval Office. This is where Donald Trump actually addressed the rumors.
Well, they went very...
The weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, and I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
something else up the weekend.
You know, people were also saying that he shaved his head and all these things. But what was the cause of it? What helped kind of spur this along was this. Okay, so this is 3 days ago, right? Trump disappears from public view for several days. Highly unusual. The absence has fueled a surge of conspiracy theories in the U.S., with rumor mongers spreading claims of Trump's death. One of their arguments is J.D. Vance's remark that he's ready to replace Trump. You can see what was trending here. Trump is dead after J.D. Vance's terrible tragedy remark creates a viral trend. Trump died trending on X. And, of course, this is always a tell. This is the number of pizza deliveries at the Pentagon. It's busier than usual. And why would that happen? Well, people believe that Trump was dead. So this is an indicator of high activity at the Pentagon when they start ordering pizzas. It's an actual indicator of news. Now, there was questions, of course, about Donald Trump's hands. People pointing to imagery that was reminiscent of the Queen's hands before she passed. But let's listen to the remark from J.D. Vance.
As vice president, you're a heartbeat away from the presidency. And your boss is one of the oldest people to ever be sworn into office. You're one of the youngest people to ever be second in line. Are you ready to assume the role of commander-in-chief? And why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training over the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the president of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So, yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last 200 days.
So it was those remarks that set everybody off. Is he speaking in code? What happened? Why would he say such a thing? Meanwhile, of course, pictures of Bill Clinton's defibrillator are circulating at the same time, but everybody wants to wish that President Trump was dead. More information on the defibrillator. It's called a LifePak 1012. It's used for EKGs as a defibrillator, a heart monitor, and O2 monitor. Easy to hook up, mainly used in EMS situations. Here is the post Trump was replying to as liberals spread rumors of his death. Is 47 held to a different standard, RT writes. Joe Biden would go to multiple days at a time without any public appearance, and the media would say he's sharp and top of his game. Meanwhile, he was wearing diapers and napping. President Trump puts on more public work hours than any other president in history, and media freaks out if he disappears for 24 hours. Comical double standard, without question. And of course, you have Keith Olbermann, who is really the poster child for TDS, talking about the Trump death rumor. I'm going to get to the actual death that happened in a moment, but let's listen to this TDS sufferer.
Of course, Trump's not dead. On the other hand, how could you be certain? And how could his own White House have possibly made it look more like he was or is desperately ill or had surgery or is having surgery or what? He's never voluntarily shut the F up for 5 consecutive days in his effing life. At minimum, this has to be what that 3-hour cabinet circle jerk was about last week. Get in your praise for dear leader before, the Trump White House, now complete with new self-manufacturing Trump health crisis conspiracy mechanisms and what might really be going on in the new Labor Day Countdown podcast.
No one's listening to you, Keith. You're lucky we even featured you on the show here. Of course, we all remember this moment when Hillary Clinton was thrown into the side of her bus when she was campaigning. That is a real medical crisis you're watching. Classic moment from the 2016 campaign. Now, this person got fired for saying that Donald Trump was dead. Did you hear about this? Yeah, it actually happened. I signed a social media contract that shouldn't even be legal, and it messed up my job of over a year. I have no recourse. I can't get unemployment now. This should not be legal. Well, you shouldn't be celebrating President Trump's demise. And of course, we have this. For all those asking, where is President Trump? Those who wish death on Trump, and Trump is dead. Trump makes an appearance at his golf club, putting to rest the swirling health rumors, golfing with his granddaughter, President Trump.
Bravo! Hi, Mr. President.
Yep, Democrats thought they saw a ghost. Now, more on that person. This is like the full thread of this guy who decided to post that Donald Trump was dead. Got fired on a call at midnight because my boss saw my Trump is dead posts. I begged him, offered to delete them, but he can't be reasoned with. You will not be able to rebuild trust. Come in when we are open to return your uniform. Do not call or text me again. You will not be rehired. Yeah. Maybe you should think twice before you start posting on social media. President Trump is alive and well after online rumors. Trump dead or alive? Rumors of Trump's death trended worldwide, fueled by photos, silence, and wild speculation. Health sparks the fire. Photos show bruised hands and swollen ankles in July. Trump was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, which is not fatal but visible. The internet saw the weakness, not nuance. He disappeared from public view for days. In politics, absence equals rumor fuel. The silence was louder than the press conference. Vance's cryptic hint fueled it even more, talking about being ready for a tragedy. Of course, that did not happen. Moving into, I do want to get into this death here, because I just found this out, that Barack Obama's gay lover has died. Larry Sinclair. If you recall, he did an interview with Tucker Carlson several months ago. I personally met him at the RNC convention in Tampa many years ago, where he confessed to me about his actions with Barack Obama in the back of a limousine. Now, we made this video. I work with Enememes to create this, which tells the story of Barack Obama and Larry Sinclair, and the rumor that Barack Obama was using Jennifer Aniston as a cover for his actual proclivities. Listen.
Don't tell anyone about us. In the quiet, with the lights turned down low, a figure in the mirror with secrets to stow. A call shadow comes in, the night's just begun. A cover-up starts under the setting sun. The chef is gone, lost to the deep. A friend awaits our secrets to keep. In a limo where the champagne flows, we escape the truth, let the rumors grow. Shadows in the limelight, playing roles through the night. From a scandal to a stage scene, nothing's ever what it seems. Shadows of this dark game, where truth and lies are all the same. Shadows in the limelight. In the market, with produce in hand, caught in the glare of a headline's brand. Paparazzi chase through city's maze, caught in the web of this media craze. Two figures move with purpose and stealth, chasing answers all by themselves. On the rooftop, under the stars, two spies meet, healing their scars. Shadows in the limelight.
So that was a little homage to Larry Sinclair and the relationship that he had with Barack Obama. Here is the man who, Dom Lucier writes, the man who allegedly had relations with President Obama. He has passed away. I was shocked to meet him and hear his story.
Acting blunt, mine that were at the house that night. And I told him, I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, I blew this guy twice. You know, and they just start cracking up. But that's the thing about me. I've never been in the closet. I've never hid. I mean, I'm always very direct and blunt. And, you know, and I'm just like, this is unreal, you know, and
that's just part of his testimony. But Tony Saruga, writes this. The main issue I have with legacy media, not just ignoring Larry Sinclair's Obama allegations, was stating over and over again that there was never any credible evidence. Maybe they should have interviewed Donald Young's mother, Norma Jean Young. Donald Young's bullet-ridden body was found in his Chicago apartment in what appeared to be an assassination-style slaying. Norma Jean Young, the 76-year-old mother of the late Trinity United Church of Christ choir director Donald Young, has spoken out and declared that persons trying to protect Obama murdering her son at the height of the 2007 Democrat presidential primary to protect Obama from embarrassing revelations about his relationships with her son. On the record, Norma Jean Young shared that she witnessed then Senator Barack Obama multiple times picking up her son in a limousine, and according to her son, they would party. And that's exactly the same story that Larry Sinclair shared. 2 additional gay men from Barack's church were murdered, shot in the back of the head. All 3 were killed within 40 days of each other, all leading up to the Obama presidential campaign. Larry Sinclair has died. His final days were extremely painful and lonely. Sinclair first publicized his claims in a January 2008 YouTube video, alleging that on November 6th and 7th of 1999, while Obama was an Illinois state senator, the two met in Chicago through a limousine driver, engaged in acts, and used drugs together. Specifically, he claimed Obama procured $250 worth of powder, which they snorted, and that Obama also smoked crack during one encounter in the back of the limo and another time in a hotel room. Now, this is all public record now. It's no longer a secret. I mean, he went on Tucker Carlson. He went to the Washington, D.C. press club and gave a presentation about it. So that was the actual death. See, that breaks the narrative about Barack Obama. So you've got all these stories circulating about Donald Trump dying. In the background, what's really happening is you've got mysterious visuals of Clinton walking around with a defibrillator. You've got Barack Obama's gay lover actually dying. And you've got Ryan Routh saying he wants to play a round of golf. Whatever happened to that guy? Meanwhile, Scott Jennings calling Tim Walz a POS, live on CNN.
Democrats taking much of Biden's presidency, hearing, Trump supporters, more MAGA influencers kind of documenting every day, oh, Biden stumbled on getting on the plane, or he walked a certain way, or he looked a certain way today. And now we're sort of seeing that flip on its head with Democrats taking that approach.
And why did we have to document it? Because nobody else would.
Hold on a second, Scott Jennings. You had an opportunity to ask the president today about this, and you did not. Why?
Well, because when he got on the phone and sounded very much alive, I thought it would sound kind of stupid, frankly, to ask an alive person if they were dead. But I'll tell you who is a complete piece of shit. I'm going to tell you right now.
There have been a lot of swear words at this
Tim
table today.
Walz,
Okay.
the governor of Minnesota, holding up a phone in front of a rally saying, well, we thought we were going to wake up and find out the president had died. Someday it'll happen. Someday it'll happen. I used to say he was the biggest buffoon in American politics, but it's worse now. No political official, no elected official should be walking around saying, well, I'm
much of Biden.
Tim Walz, a disgrace to the state of Minnesota, making those remarks as well. Here's more on Ryan Routh, is now in his final pretrial hearing after firing his public defenders. This is interesting. The DOJ introduced classified evidence against Routh, which the judge said could cause exceptionally grave damages to the national security of the United States. Really?
Major presidential. A Fox News alert now. Ryan Routh, the man accused of attempting to assassinate the president last year, is in court right now in Florida. It's his final pretrial hearing before jury selection next week, and he is apparently representing himself today. Routh is facing 5 federal charges, including attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate and a slew of weapons charges. His criminal defense attorney, here's criminal defense attorney Donna Rotuno.
Given the fact that he has this long, extensive history, a mental health history, I am quite surprised that there have been no requests here to determine his fitness to stand trial, because I think if there's ever an issue coming back in an appeals court, that may be something that is risen. And I'm surprised that the public defenders that were originally assigned to this case did not raise that issue.
So our Dana Marie McNichol is live in Fort Pierce, just outside the federal courthouse now. Dana Marie, what's the latest?
Hi, Aisha. Well, Ryan Routh, as you just mentioned, is in court right now for that last hearing. He will be taking center stage after firing those public defenders last month. So here's what we could expect for the beginning of next week's trial. Ryan Routh will be in business attire after federal judge Eileen Cannon ordered the shackles be removed. Prosecutors raised concerns that he might wear political clothing. Routh is expected to face challenges as his trial moves forward. Judge Cannon has ruled that Routh cannot access any classified information, citing risks to U.S. national security. Although Routh dismissed his public defenders, Judge Cannon is requiring the attorneys to remain on standby for Routh to help with any legal advice when needed. Now, court documents paint a picture of Routh's bizarre antics before he attempted the assassination, but a motive remains unclear. Questions remain about Routh's international ties and why he was closely tracking the president's movements with several cell phones. Back in March, President Trump called for answers.
He had 6 cell phones. That's a lot of cell phones. And a couple of them had some strange markings on them. So, yeah, I want to find out.
And looking ahead to next week, Aisha, jury selection begins on Monday. The judge ordered partial sequestration for that jury to prevent any outside interference from the media.
Wow. How bizarre is that, man? He fires his attorneys and decides to represent himself. Here's Tim Walz making those remarks.
The last few days, you get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news. You get up in the morning and you...
Yeah, definitely is a POS. Unbelievable. Democrats run from reality, dive deeper into delusion. It's pure entertainment.
So apparently in liberal world, they actually really thought for a few days that Trump was dead. Why? Because he hasn't taken questions in about 3 days, which tells me a few things. Number one, the guy is so transparent every day and answers questions on literally every topic that because he doesn't do it for a few days, they think he's dead, not on vacation, dead. Number two, major gaslighting. You guys voted for a guy who was absent the entire 4 years, on vacation over half of his presidency. Every time he was on camera, he had to have a teleprompter and have a list of who to call on. And you guys said absolutely nothing, because believe me, if that was Trump in any capacity, you would be freaking out on a daily basis. This is why we can never take anything you guys say seriously, because if you can't see the hypocrisy that you think the guy was dead because he didn't answer questions for 3 days, but you voted for a guy for 4 years, literally answered no questions and had to be told on how to answer and what to answer, how am I supposed to take you seriously? So apparently,
if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, this is not about Trump surviving fake death rumors. Look at the bigger picture. While Democrats typed their death fantasies, Bill Clinton was photographed with what medical professionals confirm as a defibrillator. Same age as Trump, vastly different health stories. And yes, a prominent political figure did pass away this weekend, but the media stayed silent because it didn't fit their Obama is a straight man narrative. The truth is simple. They wanted Trump dead so badly they manifested their own humiliation. Right Angle News confirmed the firings. Anonymous sources leaked the panic at the Democrat headquarters when Trump posted, "Never felt better in my life." Their celebration tweets became pink slips. Their death wishes became career-ending. And here's what matters. When political hatred becomes this toxic, when you celebrate even imagined death, you've revealed your true nature. They don't just hate Trump, they hate what he represents. They hate you. So here's the question. Should social media ban death wishes against any public figure? Drop a yes or no in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation. And you can grab some Next News gear at our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find a link down below. All right. Just getting warmed up here. Tim wearing his deserter cap. I need a bumper sticker, M3. N3. The like button. We're good, Michael. How's it going for you? Michael, Brian, Blizzard, and all here. Yeppers. Hell yes, Gary. Tucker Carlson, episode 22. Please help Cambodia. I am helping Cambodia. In fact, I did an interview on Cambodian prime time this morning, my local time, your prime time. Tampon Timmy. How's the baby kitty? I don't have a baby kitty. On social media, yes, says Prism Warp. Rigor a liberal on the streets, grab the gear. All right. Let's see. I think we did have some super chats. Let's check in with our super chats real quick before we head to the next topic. Robert Davis, $5. Love your podcast. Thank you, Robert Davis. And Brian Whitehead dropping $1.99 from Brian Whitehead. Thank you, sir, for your support. Okay, we're moving into our next topic. This is actually quite interesting. Quite interesting. For 24 years, one question was forbidden. One building's collapse was off limits. One investigation was never allowed. But in just 8 days, everything changes. September 10th through September 12th, Washington, D.C. becomes ground zero for truth. Senator Ron Johnson, yes, Senator Ron Johnson, former congressman, CIA whistleblowers, they're all converging for Turning the Tide 2025. Now, Building 7, it fell at free fall speed. No plane hit it. Engineers say there's only one explanation, and now some of the most powerful voices in America are gathering to say it out loud. Clayton Morris will live stream it to millions. Richard Gage promises explosive revelations. And what they're about to reveal has been hidden for over 2 decades. The truth that they've suppressed is finally surfacing, so keep on watching. Now, before we jump into today's news, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Hyperbit Technologies, trading under HYPAF on the U.S. market. As President Trump puts a spotlight on crypto and pushes forward policies to keep America ahead in the digital asset race, Hyperbit is charging ahead with next-generation crypto mining technology, expanding on their multi-million crypto treasury that already includes Bitcoin and Ethereum, and aiming to position itself to benefit from pro-innovation laws and executive orders. This is a complete diversified company that gives you one-stop exposure to the entire crypto sector. For everything you need to know, check out the link in the description below, hyperbit.ca. Now, I have to admit, this is quite shocking. I never thought that I would see the day. I had resigned the truth of 9/11 being left to the court of public opinion. Now, if you know me, if you know my long career of activism and news, you'll know that I was in the streets, passing out DVDs, waking up people to the truth about 9/11. I had my own organization, the Lone Lantern Society, and that is what our entire organization was dedicated to. One of the very first conferences I ever went to was about 9/11 truth, and I gave a speech there, one of my first public speeches about becoming the media. That was many, many years ago, and it's put me on a trajectory. So looking at this now from Richard Gage, he actually texted me over the weekend. He's like, you've got to see what's happening. Senator Ron Johnson, Dennis Kucinich, Kurt Weldon to speak live at 9/11 conference, Turning the Tide 2025, September 10th through the 12th in Washington, D.C. The chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations, think about it, he writes. He says, Gail and I here at Richard Gage 9/11 are delighted to announce that the U.S. Senator Ron Johnson will speak live at this event. It will be streamed live as well. So this is huge, huge news. I mean, massive post here from him, but you can see this is the event that's about to take place. It's going to rock Washington. It's going to rock the truth community. It is going to rock the United States. I mean, look at this lineup of speakers here. It's U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, former U.S. Representative Kurt Weldon, former U.S. Rep. Dennis Kucinich, John Chiraq, CIA whistleblower. Clayton Morris will be live streaming it Wednesday, 9/10. Look at the people speaking. This is a massive, massive event. Now, as I started to dig into this, I started to think about, okay, because what they really want is they want to get on Tucker Carlson's radar. We're going to get to that in a moment. But like, look at this video. This is Tucker Carlson. He's known the truth about 9/11 for over 9 years. Who told him first? Alex Jones. But he waited until last month to hint his awareness of the truth. It's time to fully join the right side of history, Tucker. No one is stopping you now. Now, if you didn't know this, like, Tucker has been, he's been doing interviews that are just uncovering so many truths about that day. But who can ever forget when Tucker mocked us? Just mocked us for simply asking questions.
My next guest says that hijack.
If there's any evidence that the government was behind 9/11, look, I believe anything if there's evidence, but there isn't any. So knock it off. That's my view.
My next guest says that.
But knock it off. That's my view. Here's let's go to this clip here. Now this is where it gets. This is crazy. This is published 4 days ago. Tucker is doing 9/11. Look at who he spotlights at the 27-minute mark. Tucker has a 5-part documentary now on 9/11.
The official story on 9/11 is a complete lie.
Look at that's Tucker Carlson. I just played the clip. Look at that 180. You know, just a few years back, he was going, there is no evidence. And now he's making documentaries about it.
The official story on 9/11 is a complete lie. The 9/11 report is a joke.
You have the CIA following two men all over the planet and then eventually even to America, right? And you don't tell the FBI. 9/11 Commission to cover.
So what did happen? What did the government know? What did foreign governments know? There was a cover-up. Why? It's been nearly 25 years. It is time Americans learned what actually happened. We're going to tell you. We're releasing one episode per week. You're not going to want to wait. If you're a member, you don't have to. You get all 5 episodes the day it drops, right then, ad-free. Our first episode airs Thursday, 9/11, September 11th. You will not want to miss it. Join us now at tuckercarlson.com.
Tucker Carlson dropping the 9/11 files. Yeah, I'm not sure what timeline that we're living in, but I'm all for it. Let's keep going here. Remember this? And I got some clips here of Senator Ron Johnson. They'll blow your mind, too. But remember this? They said Building 7 fell 20 minutes before it actually fell.
A new attack. Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the...
I'll never forget this report, because the Salomon Brothers building, Building 7, is actually standing behind her.
Salomon Brothers building and its collapse.
Well, only really what you already know.
It's right. See the arrow about to point? It's right there.
Details are very, very sketchy. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what...
Yeah, who will ever forget that footage when they went ahead and announced it had actually collapsed, but it hadn't. Okay, so Ron Johnson, he has been hitting the airwaves. He's been all over it. I'm not even sure where I should begin, because like here he is talking with Tucker Carlson.
American
information.
But may I ask, why is anything still redacted from 9/11? It was 24 years ago. It changed this country completely. Every American has, I mean, Lawler's right in the sense that it really affected every American. Why would our government continue to lie about it?
I can't answer the question. All I can say is it raises my suspicion.
Yeah.
And then when you start getting, again, I'm just as prone to everybody else going, though, that's wacko. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
That's so, but then you start getting the information and you start going, wow, is that weird? You know, building number 7, you see it come down, and we've all watched because it's cool to watch, you know, these buildings being demolished, boom, just, you know, free fall. Well, the only way that happens is if you remove all of their supports at the same time. You blow them all out so that a building can really free fall. If it's collapsing something else, it's like, you know, you build like a fire and it collapses off to the side or something, right? So that was pretty strange. But, you know, the more documentaries I look at this stuff, the more information I receive. You talk to guys like Richard Gage, the head of the Architects for 9/11 Truth. They feed you information, and you start asking a lot of questions, and you just realize there's a lot here that simply has not been answered. So, and, you know, the firefighters want to know. I mean, there was never a steel structure building that ever collapsed because of a fire.
Especially Building 7. Well, you don't get a lot of buildings that, you know, commercial airliners run into, so you could be like, well, who knows?
You're right.
But Building 7 was not hit by anything. It's actually quite a distance from the other towers. It's not right next door. It's hundreds of yards away, I think. And debris hit it, and it caught fire, and then the whole thing collapsed, as we saw on camera. That was not even included in the 9/11 report. There's no mention of Building 7. It's like, anyway, the point is...
You know, you also had people, because they never explored explosions, but there, you know, a guy named Graham McQueen researched this. He dug up, you know, footage filmed at Ground Zero, 156 witnesses, you know, first responders saying they heard explosions before the buildings came down. So what is, I mean, trust me, there are a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, things you just can't explain that.
That's a senator. And he is going to be headlining this event that's coming up in D.C. Here's more. Ron Johnson, they're saying, continuing to push conspiracy theories.
pretty famous guy. There was never a steel structure building like that brought down by a fire. That's why they went up there. They were not expecting that to come down on their heads. There's one pretty famous guy, walked 40 floors up to the floor where the fires was, and really seconds before the towers came down. He said, "Okay, we got this under control. I need X number of units to do it." Again, they were not expecting this, and certainly wouldn't expect Building 7. I guess that's where my eyes were opened to these legitimate questions. I mean, didn't even ever hear about Building 7. All of a sudden you see the video that you're playing right now, and it's like, that sure looks like controlled demolition to me. And then you get that structural engineering professor up in Alaska, does a 4-year study with the graduate students, pretty well debunks the NIST study that they won't even release their calculations, or a lot of them. Again, so okay, why? Why did this suppress all of the reports? This Graham McQueen guy he just was really looking into this, so he just found all this file footage and identified something like 156 people that day. 2 reporters saying they heard explosions. That wasn't part of that. So again, why were all those legitimate questions suppressed? Why was that information really brought to the fore? Why did you really go in the news media from explosions being heard ahead of time to the way the building brought the Twin Towers down? No further questions need to be asked. I mean, the BBC reporter was, that literally said, "Oh, the Building 7 came down and it's just right over her shoulder."
And it hadn't come down yet.
Yeah.
And it hadn't. Yeah, I mean,
we just showed you that video. Okay. And speaking of revelations, this is just in, it's a side note, but U.S. Representative Anna Paulina Luna announcing that the public release of the Epstein files is imminent. This was posted 60 minutes ago. Public release of Epstein files coming any minute. I know it's not related to 9/11, but it's another thing people want answers for. Continuing here, let's take a look. Here's former Congressman Curt Weldon telling all about 9/11 in a shocking interview with Tucker Carlson. Yet another interview with Tucker.
And they are the only high-rise buildings in the world that have ever come down from an airplane hitting them. And those buildings, I read the report from the architect who designed them. They were designed to withstand an airplane hitting the building and standing tall.
And especially Building 7, which had no plane hit it. Right.
No plane hit it. And the building you can see it when you watch it on TV, it just implodes straight down. And what really got me again was Oriole Palmer, the battalion chief, arising on the...
Well, tell us who he was. What is...
Okay, Oriole Palmer was one of the most inspirational battalion chiefs in New York.
FDNY,
who immediately, in very good shape, had a family, a couple of kids, went into the building as soon as they got on the scene, took the elevator up to the 40th floor. Got off the elevator, and you can hear him on the comm system say, "I'm here, 40th floor. We're going to start walking up the stairwells." Every 5 floors, he radios back to communication. "I'm on the 50th floor. Everything's okay. We're on floor 60. Everything's okay." He's going up. Every so many floors, he gives a report. He reaches the 78th floor, the floor of impact. He comes out of the stair tower, and as clear as you listening to me here, and I know I get passionate, and I apologize to your listeners for that. He says, "We're on floor 78, the floor of impact. We've got 2 fires, and we can handle them." 1 minute later, the whole building collapses. That's not normal. That is not acceptable. That is not what happened.
And this is on tape?
It's on tape. The film is called Bravo 7. And if your viewers want it, if they contact you, I'll give it to you. It's free. It was produced not by Hollywood. It was produced by firefighters. And it includes the footage, including the firefighter, the footage of the firefighter communication between him and the command center. You can hear him as plain as day saying, "I'm on the impact floor, floor 78. We have 2 fires here. We can control them." And he's comfortable. He's not worrying about the building collapsing. He just walked up 38 floors and the whole building collapses. Tucker, it's a big lie. They are the only...
Now Tucker Carlson producing a documentary, a massive event about to happen in Washington, D.C. Now here's Senator Ron Johnson. So this is nothing really new for him to be questioning this date. Here he is, July 11th of 2023, saying representatives of the 9/11 families brought me this heavily redacted document showing the lack of transparency from the FBI regarding the 9/11 attacks. I intend to work with the families to obtain and expose the truth. This is in 2023.
The government is not being. I have the deepest sympathy for the families of 9/11 and support their efforts of obtaining information currently being withheld by the U.S. and Saudi governments. And Mr. Chairman, as a quick aside, I was approached by some members of 9/11 families of the hall today, and they gave me a document that summarizes, I guess, the FBI's investigation of Saudi involvement in 9/11. And unlike so many, or like so many documents that I received, it's heavily redacted. The FBI, the United States government, the Saudi government is not being transparent with the 9/11 families. And I want to completely support the 9/11 families in obtaining transparency and the truth. So I'd like to enter this document into the record so that people can view for themselves the lack of transparency of our government and the Saudi government.
And now he is going to be demanding transparency at this conference that's coming up. And it will be live streamed, so you will be able to watch it. This is just a couple months ago in May. Ron Johnson on Building 7 and government distrust. In an interview with Meg Elfison, Senator Ron Johnson discusses his discovery of Building 7's collapse.
Okay, so we're going to run out of time, but we got to talk at least briefly about September 11th. I told you off air. I said, when I heard you talking about Building 7, actually my husband and I were watching your interview last night, and I looked at my husband, I said, did you even know about Building 7? I remember Twin Towers, 1 and 2, but I knew nothing about Building 7.
Nor had I. This all started when the then chairman of the firm subcommittee investigation wanted to investigate Saudi's involvement with the PGA deal. And so when I got contacted by 9/11 families as part of that hearing, can you get us the unredacted, documents in terms of what the FBI knew about Saudi involvement? So then you start getting all this information. That's when I first found out about Building 7. There's some great documentaries. There's one just called 7. There's one, I think, called Falling Bravo 7. I think that's the name of it. Again, there's a lot of interesting documentaries on this. Graham McQueen, pretty good documentary interview with this guy who did a lot of research. So again, I don't have the answers, but I'm like you. I never really was particularly inquisitive. I just bought the government line on this. And as we find out in so many different instances, you literally can't trust the government, what they've told you. I mean, the government has just lied repeatedly to the American public for decades on so many different issues. It's bad. It shouldn't happen, but it does. So again, I've got a lot more questions, but there are some very legitimate, outstanding questions that have never been allowed to ask.
And now those questions will be front and center at the Turning the Tide event that will take place. Newly confirmed speakers, Jason Burmis, Dr. Niels Harrit, Elizabeth Murray will be there. Right on, Jason Burmis. Love that guy. This is going to be a huge event. So make sure that you mark your calendar. If you can't get to Washington, D.C., watch the live stream and support the quest for truth. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So why does it matter? Well, because September 10th through 12th in Washington, D.C., it could change history. Turning the Tide 2025 is not just another conference. It's a reckoning. Senator Ron Johnson, who chairs the Senate Subcommittee on Investigations, is speaking. And when he questions Building 7's collapse at this event, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's congressional oversight finally doing its job. Richard Gage assembled an unprecedented lineup. Former Congressman Kurt Weldon, Dennis Kucinich, CIA whistleblower, John Chiraq, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer, engineers, researchers, Clayton Morris. Broadcasting it live on Redacted ensures that millions witness what corporate media will ignore. Even Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan are questioning the narrative now. For 24 years, they kept us silent with shame and ridicule. But when senators, congressmen, and whistleblowers unite to demand truth, the wall of lies crumbles. So, Washington, D.C., is now ground zero. The tide truly turns. So here's the question. Will you watch Turning the Tide live stream September 10th through 12th? Drop a yes or no in the comments below. You can support truth-telling journalism at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. How exciting is that, huh? The deep state government created this attack to help pass the Patriot Bill. It's not all on Israel. They are all pieces of the puzzle. Major insurance scam. Towers were not generating rent as expected. They want to control us even more. Yes, says Ron, the one and only Ron the Don. CIA used TV to hide, suppress the truth. Dear Gary, I didn't know you died. Oh, my goodness. All right. Let's get to our next topic. Any more super chats? Oh, yes. Barbara dropping $20. Hi, Gary. Longtime follower since 2016. Great job. Our goat, POTUS, needs to be fully protected from the deep state, including our own people, the CIA. God bless. Thank you, Barbara, for being a longtime viewer since 2016. Thank you for your support. All right, we got to get into this next story. This was brought to my attention, and now I need to bring it to yours. "18 years in prison wasn't long enough for them. Now they want him silenced forever." Stuart Rhodes, freed by Trump's commutation, tries to speak at an Illinois event, and what happens? Angry mobs try to shut him down. The same people who celebrate plays about killing Trump, who post assassination fantasies online, who wish death on their political enemies, they're terrified of one man telling his story. Rhodes never even entered the Capitol. He told followers to stay out, yet they gave him 18 years while actual terrorists got less. Now he's free, he's speaking truth, and they can't stand it. What you're about to see exposes their hypocrisy. They promote violence against Trump while silencing those who expose their lies. The double standard ends now, so keep on watching. Now let me ask you something. If you've built up $100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of it riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the same kind big players are buying. Visit nextnewsgold.com today. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's time to protect what you have built. The number also on the screen, 877-646-5347. Their operators are standing by, and when you talk to them, tell them that Gary Franchi said hello. So this was brought to my attention over the weekend, and I said, you know what? It's time to do a little investigating, and that's exactly what I did. Cancel culture is trying to take out Stuart Rhodes. I've known Stuart for, probably 20 years or more. At the very beginning of my work on this channel with the Next News Network, he was a frequent fixture here. And I've seen his work firsthand, helping people, supporting patriots. And now he gets wrapped up in this January 6th. President Trump commutes his sentence. Now he's going to be speaking at an event in Geneva, Illinois. There's a radical leftist group called We Can Lead Change in Fox Valley. And they're pressuring the Eaglebrook Country Club to cancel the September 23rd event, which is hosted by the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance. That is where Stuart Rhodes is scheduled to speak. Now, Stuart Rhodes, at the center of this, let's dive a little bit deeper. This will blow your mind. Here's the truth, though. Eaglebrook is not endorsing anything. A private member rented space for a lawful event, period. But the activists are targeting the club itself, demanding Rhodes be silenced. Classic cancel culture intimidation. They've even launched this petition to stop Stuart Rhodes from speaking at Eaglebrook. Three-Headed Eagle Organization is hosting Stuart Rhodes at an event September 23rd at Eaglebrook Country Club in Geneva. You can see the event here. We Can Lead Change, Fox Valley activists, Democrats of Geneva, Western Kane Democrats, and their partners feel this event is very concerning and have created the petition below. Please consider signing the form. Well, how about you consider attending the event and learn something? And they have this. If you want to contact Eaglebrook Country Club yourself, click here. So they're doing a pressure campaign to try to cancel this event. Now, here's the irony. These clowns pretend to be nonpartisan, but their own site has a section openly endorsing Democrat candidates. So much for neutrality. Their mask slips the moment you look closer. See, newer nonpartisan volunteers championing equality and accountability. This is from from their website. And you can see they have a whole section about candidate endorsements. Each candidate we endorse promotes justice, equality, and community empowerment. They claim to build an inclusive democratic society, but what does that mean in practice? Silencing anyone they disagree with. Their version of democracy equals censorship. This is what's so funny. Inclusive advocacy for all. Everyone deserves to be heard, except for Stuart Rhodes, I guess, right? And then here's the bombshell. On their own homepage, they display a protest photo with a sign reading 8647. That's not random numbers. That is a code for assassinate Donald Trump. This is on their front page, nonpartisan volunteers. And you can see right there, I've highlighted the section, assassinate Trump, 8647. Clearly, one of their events that they are so proud of that they put it on their front page right at the top. Maybe they should have blurred that out. Because if you ask me, they are advocating for the assassination of President Trump. The group that claims to fight extremism proudly tolerates a coded call to violence against President Trump, and they dare lecture others about safety and division. There's a better picture of it, 8647. Let's be clear, whether or not you agree with Stuart Rhodes is not the point. The point is that the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance has the same constitutional right to assemble and speak as anyone else. This is the flyer that they are circulating Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, 6 to 8 p.m., Pints and Politics. And I'm honored to tell you, I was actually one of their first speakers at their very first inaugural event. So this group has a very special place in my heart because I helped to kick off this organization by speaking at this Pints and Politics event. And now Stuart Rhodes is going to be gracing the same stage. In the aftermath of January 6, 2021, Stuart Rhodes was sentenced to 18 years in prison. He's been the last 3 years behind bars, including 1 year in solitary confinement, widely viewed by his supporters as a political prisoner due to his outspoken belief that the 2020 election was fraudulent. Rhodes will speak about January 6, his experience in prison, and what he is working on now. I guarantee you, you want to be at this event. And if you feel the need to contact the Eaglebrook Country Club, you call them and tell them thank you for hosting an American patriot. Thank you for allowing a voice to be heard. Because remember, right? All voices, everyone deserves to be heard. Free speech does not apply to voices the left approves of. It applies especially to voices the mob hates. If they can cancel Rhodes today, they will cancel you tomorrow. This is a screenshot of the Facebook event that the Three-Headed Eagles has posted. Pints and Politics, Stuart Rhodes, Patriot, J6 prisoner, American Patriot, at the Eaglebrook Country Club in Geneva. These tolerant activists love to weaponize businesses. They bully venues into bans. They use petitions, smear campaigns, and mob pressure to enforce one ideology that is not democracy, that's authoritarianism in drag. Here is one of their events.
The Women's March is about positivity. It's about taking care of each other. So when we're out here, it's a physical, visible, tangible thing that we can do to say, this is what the Women's
Here, democracy is protected when everyone's voice has a chance to be heard. We can lead change. This is one of the images that's proudly presented on their website. Isn't that ironic? Democracy is protected when everyone's voice has a chance to be heard, except for Stuart Rhodes. Of course, they supported the No Kings nationwide Day of Defiance. And here is one of their tabling, one of the tables at one of their events. Not sure who all of these women are, but these are the ones that, I guess, believe that Stuart Rhodes is a threat. Meanwhile, the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance is doing what Americans have always done, hosting discussions, bringing people together, exercising rights our Constitution guarantees. There it is. Their mission. Our goal as a nonprofit is to educate voters on local issues important to them and challenge leaders to fulfill their oath of office. Pretty noble. The event is September 23rd, 6 o'clock to 8 p.m., Eaglebrook Country Club, Geneva, Illinois, hosted by Three-Headed Eagles. It's not about one man. It's about the First Amendment itself. Guest speaker, Stuart Rhodes. The irony writes itself. They scream about democracy while working overtime to silence it. They shout inclusion while excluding anyone who thinks differently. They virtue signal while tolerating assassination codes. It says at the bottom here, by working together, we strive to build a more inclusive, responsive, and democratic society. Endorsing candidates, but proudly displaying assassination codes on their website. This is the full petition here. We, the undersigned, respectfully call on Eaglebrook to withdraw its invitation for Stuart Rhodes to speak at your facility. Now, to be clear, Eaglebrook did not invite him. By offering a platform to an individual whose views and actions we believe contribute to division and harm and spread of extremist rhetoric, the club risks aligning its reputation with ideas that undermine the safety and well-being of our community. By offering a platform to an individual, they believe he will contribute division and harm because of his rhetoric. Unbelievable. But this is... How can, I mean, he would have been in and out. Nobody would even known he was there. And the only people who are creating division are these folks. But everyone's voice should be heard, right? It's important to note, Stuart Rhodes, founder of the Oath Keepers, was convicted of seditious conspiracy for his leadership role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the longest sentence handed down in connection with the insurrection. Although his sentence was later commuted, his conviction stands as a stark reminder of the danger that he possesses. As a valued community institution, Eaglebrook Country Club has the responsibility to foster an environment that promotes respect, safety, and inclusivity. Except Stuart Rhodes. We urge you to reconsider this decision and stand with the broader community in rejecting extremism in all its forms. Isn't that crazy? This is the line in the sand. If we let these partisan censors win, the First Amendment loses. Stand up, speak out, and defend free speech. Follow Next News for more truth the fake news won't touch. I got a phone call from Debbie, one of the lead organizers of the Three-Headed Eagles organization, after I posted this thread. And she said that she's getting phone calls from members who are thanking her for hosting this. Members of the club who are thankful. So if you do feel the need, make sure you contact the club and tell them thank you. This guy here, Alex, I'll be there. I didn't even know this was happening. Thanks for the heads up. Flashback, March 1st, 2024, Stuart Rhodes serving an 18-year prison sentence for seditious conspiracy despite never even going in the Capitol and urging followers not to go inside. Anderson Cooper, 360, January 14th, 2022. Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes has spewed anti-government rhetoric for more than a decade.
Oath Keeper leader and founder Stuart Rhodes has spent nearly a year publicly denying he had anything to do with the violence on January 6th.
There were no plans by the leadership, us, me and the team leader, Whip, to enter the Capitol. No instructions by us to do so. And we didn't even know that any of our guys had done it until afterwards.
But this indictment tells a different story, accusing Rhodes of seditious conspiracy, a complex, months-long plan for a massively bloody revolution if Joe Biden took office. Prosecutors allege Oath Keepers prepared for battle at Rhodes' direction, Rhodes purchasing thousands of dollars in guns and tactical equipment, others setting up an armed quick reaction force and communicating as they stormed the Capitol.
Of course, that's a CNN report. You know how they like to skew things. Here's more from the Associated Press. Take it with a grain of salt. Stuart Rhodes was a paratrooper, congressional staffer, an artist, Yale law grad, and a state Supreme Court clerk before he launched the far-right Oath Keepers. Now he faces some of the most serious charges leveled in the January 6th attack. But let's go to the other side. Let's check in with Lindell TV. This was published on June 9th of this year with Kara Castronova, who is a White House correspondent, interviewing Stuart Rhodes.
Of the Be America.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova with Lindell TV. Here in Washington, D.C., we ran into Stuart Rhodes, the politically persecuted Oath Keeper who's still seeking a pardon from President Trump. Why are you here today?
Well, actually, I was here last night for the launch of the Be America PAC. I was invited to go attend that, and I got a chance to meet Peter Tickton in person and thank him for advocating for our pardons. Not just for myself, but all the other Oath Keepers and Proud Boys that are still waiting for a pardon. We were commuted. Of course, we're grateful to be out of prison, but we now need to have all our rights restored. I'm a disabled veteran and lost all my disability. Got a nasty letter from the VA when I was in solitary confinement, letting me know that I could not be buried in a veteran's cemetery any longer, even though I'm a totally innocent man. So that's why I was here last night. And then today we attended me and Enrique Tarrio and Ivan attended the sentencing for the good guy police officer, Shane Lamont. So he was sentenced today to 18 months in prison for wanting to go testify at the Proud Boy trial. And just like what happened with us with the Oath Keeper trial, you announce someone as a witness and then they indict them. It happened to us with Kelly Sorrell, our general counsel. As soon as we listed her as a witness, they indicted her. Same thing happened in the Proud Boy trial. We were going to have Shane Lamont come and testify, lieutenant from the D.C. Metro Police Department, and that's when they indicted him too.
Are people frustrated? A lot of people I talk to are frustrated that the Department of Justice and the FBI still has a lot of the same people in that persecuted you guys.
I saw my own prosecutor there today. Jeffrey Nestler came in and sat down with his buddies watching this sentencing.
Did he look at you?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, nice to see you." I said,
I would have given him the finger
I said,
and told
"Not
him
nice to see you." That's what I told him. So yes, he should be fired at the very minimum. Actually, he should be fired and then he should be indicted because he was caught red-handed suborning the perjury of two Capitol Police officers, Harry Dunn and Officer Lazarus, who both lied and said they were together, and they were not together that day because Lazarus was actually in the tunnels under the Senate. Steve Baker found that video that proved they were not together, so they committed perjury on the stand. They should be prosecuted for perjury. Then they can inform on and roll over on the prosecutors who suborn their perjury, and of course they'll roll over on their superiors, right up the chain of command. That's what should be happening.
Cass Patel and Bongino and Pam Bondi need to do more with weeding out the deep state agents that are still over there at the Department of Justice.
At least fire them, and same in the FBI. So the FBI agents that persecuted all of us are still on the job. Why is that? In fact, the one that oversaw all of our persecutions, Jensen, was promoted.
Do you think they'll go after President Trump in a couple years if they're not weeded out now?
They're going to go after all of us. It'll be 10 times worse. Unless we actually defeat the deep state and drain the swamp, which means fire, at the minimum, fire all of these willing tools. 5,000 agents obeyed unconstitutional, unlawful orders to persecute all of us. They're still on the job. They should be fired.
A big part of the swamp I realized covering January 6 trials is the judges, the judiciary, especially here in D.C., and also the Department of Justice and obviously the FBI. Yep. And we were hopeful, and I'm still hopeful that they'll clean that stuff out. But I guess we have to pray to God and hope that this administration does the right thing for their own self-preservation.
Well, for our country's preservation. Yes.
Of course, that too, but at least understand that every single person in the administration, like Stephen Miller, like J.D. Vance, all of them in a couple years from now could be the Oath Keepers. They could be the Roger Stones, the Patrick Burns, and the Steve Bannons that got prosecuted and persecuted.
Or President Trump. Right. They tried to put him in prison too. And the whole point of all the prosecutions was, of course, to get him. And it didn't work. God will use for good what man means for evil. But we have a duty and responsibility. As the founders said, duty is ours, results are God's. We must do our duty. That's what we hope to see is more aggressive cleaning up and draining of the swamp by firing those who are complicit. If you obey unlawful orders and violate people's rights, you have no business being in a position of power any longer. You violated your oath. My oath as a paratrooper was not to defend the Constitution unless I might lose my job, in which case I'm given a pass. That's what's happened with these rank and file FBI agents and also in the DOJ.
To clarify, Stuart Rhodes is still looking for a pardon from President Trump. His sentence was commuted, but he's not receiving his veterans benefits and all of the other benefits that come with serving your country.
And the same goes for Joe Biggs and Dominic Pizzola, Kenya Harrelson, all of us veterans, same situation we're in.
I'm hearing good things, so I think Trump is going to pardon you, and he's aware of it. So that's the good news.
President Trump, and I'm really glad to see that Peter Tickton, he's my attorney for my pardon, and I'm glad that he's advocating for us. I think he's doing a very good job.
Thanks so much.
All right, God bless you. Take care.
God bless you.
Right.
Hey,
President Trump needs to pardon Stuart Rhodes right away. Stuart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, speaks at the Proud Boys Oath Keepers press conference at the Capitol. This was in February.
Brothers, so what man means for evil, God can use for good. Just as Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, but ended up saving many lives, so too for this country here. What was done to President Trump, the lawfare against him, the lawfare against us, has been used for good. Every time they attacked him, he only got stronger. They tried to disqualify him from being able to run under the 14th Amendment. That's what this was all about. All this was like a massive conspiracy case with President Trump, a massive fake conspiracy case with President Trump as the designated kingpin, Ricky Tario and I as his designated lieutenants, and all of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys as the spearhead of this so-called insurrection conspiracy. Complete false garbage. And all the other people in here as rank and file soldiers. All this complete nonsense. The false narrative was set very early. February 16, 2021, Benny Thompson, member of Congress, the guy who went on the chair of the J6 Select Committee, filed a lawsuit along with other members of Congress suing President Trump, Giuliani, Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, just weeks after the Capitol incident, alleging a conspiracy to disenfranchise black voters by challenging the election as unconstitutional and stolen, and also attacking democracy. That's where the narrative was set. Everything else was a dog and pony show trials, both in the J6 Select Committee, public show trial, and all of our trials were just manufactured show trials to make that true, to arrive at a destination they had already decided on long ago. They knew where they wanted to go. And all of our trials is a way to get there. So that's why they charged Oath Keepers and Proud Boys with the seditious conspiracy. The only people charged with that were us, members of our two groups, to make it look like, oh, these two dangerous groups, these violent groups. My organization is made up of military and police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. I was a paratrooper in the Army, disabled veteran. I was a firefighter. About 30% of our guys are law enforcement officers. Some of them were here on Capitol grounds that day helping police officers. But they were not allowed to show that to the jury. Mike Nichols, a New York City Oath Keeper cop, retired, was here. He was asked by Chiraq Johnson on that day. That's the black officer that wore a MAGA hat to get through the crowd. He was asked by Chiraq Johnson to help get Capitol police officers out of the Capitol. He went inside with him, escorted him out. We couldn't show that video. We couldn't have him testify at our trial because that went against the false narrative that all the Oath Keepers were there to cause violence. And they were
what about all the FBI agents? What about all the provocateurs who were there on site? Right? Well, you're going to find out a lot more if you attend this event on September 23rd, 2025 at the Eaglebrook Country Club, 6 to 8 in Geneva, Illinois. I hope to see you there. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this exposes everything wrong with our justice system. Stuart Rhodes gets 18 years for words while leftists openly promote Trump's assassination without consequence. Shakespeare in the Park depicted Trump's murder. They call it art. Celebrities post death fantasies. They call it free speech. But when Rhodes tries to speak about his wrongful imprisonment, they mobilize to silence him. The hypocrisy breathtaking. The same Illinois protesters trying to shut down Rhodes probably cheered when Madonna talked about blowing up the White House. They probably defend Kathy Griffin's severed Trump head, but clutch pearls when Rhodes discusses constitutional rights. They want him silenced because the story destroys their narrative. The J6 defendants are terrorists, not political prisoners. Now, Trump's commutation didn't just free Rhodes, it exposed their selective outrage about violence. They promote assassination while prosecuting protests. So here's the question. Should all J6 defendants receive immediate pardons? Yes or no? Let's have this conversation down below. And you can stand for justice and support our work here by visiting shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find it linked down below. All right. I hope you guys can make it out to that event. We are not done yet. We are just getting this party started. Not a damn thing. Proud Boys. Madonna aged like milk. Ew. Absolutely. This is planned. Yes, we are. Tripoli, Dad Navy aircraft carrier ran aircraft elevator going up and down for planes. Keep that man. The one and only Rondon. Yes, they deserve the pardons. Yes, they do. All right. Lots to break down in this report. So much news is happening on the Chicago front. Got some breaking news from the Oval Office that changes everything. President Trump just issued a direct statement on Chicago's crisis, and Mayor Brandon Johnson's response will infuriate you. 53 shot, 8 dead. While families beg for help, Johnson blocks federal troops. But Trump isn't backing down. From the Oval Office, he's ordered military assets to stage at Great Lakes Naval Base, ready to move the moment Johnson's obstruction ends. Former Police Superintendent Jody Weis confirms what we suspected. Democrat leaders are lying about crime while their constituents die. Even Morning Joe admits the truth now. 8-year-olds with guns, mothers pleading for protection, and 2 Democrat governors playing politics with black lives. What Trump just announced will force their hand, so stay with us. While Chicago bleeds and families live in fear, there's something else destroying communities: the visible toll of constant stress. A 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging, and 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. If that sounds like you, you are not alone. This is why I use my secret anti-aging weapon, and I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with the 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea with no taste or clumps. Be sure to grab a bag of Ageless Multi-Collagen now while it's 51% off, only at healthwithgary.com. You'll find it linked down below. So President Trump had a big announcement from the Oval Office today, a wide-ranging announcement, and this was only one part of it. Trump confirming there are no other options for Chicago and that he will be sending in federal law enforcement. Check this out.
Peter,
you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with, they should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to L.A. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that got...
You're definitely going to send National Guard troops to...
Now, what's interesting is that the former governor, Rod Blagojevich, who was pardoned by Donald Trump, he's been rather outspoken regarding this, the National Guard going to Chicago. And he pointed this out. A couple posts he's made, this one just 10 hours ago. He tells the story of two Democrat governors, George Wallace and J.B. Pritzker, standing in the way of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for black people. Here's a photo of Wallace, the governor of Alabama, right here. Okay? What's he doing there? And then here, Pritzker. All right? Below is a photo of Wallace, the governor of Alabama, who, like Pritzker, worked to block efforts to send in the National Guard to end segregation. In June of 1963, Wallace stood in front of the schoolhouse door and tried to prevent two black students from enrolling at the University of Alabama. JFK, a great Democrat president, federalized the National Guard and forced Wallace to back down, allowing Vivian Malone and James Hood to make history as the first black students admitted to the segregated University of Alabama. And today, Governor Pritzker is blocking efforts to send the National Guard to save black lives, where 80% of the 262 murder victims in Chicago are black. Rod Blagojevich pointed this out 24 hours ago. Governor Pritzker called out the National Guard to protect wealthy donors and delegates at the Democrat convention last summer, but he tells President Trump, we don't want the National Guard in Chicago. 52 people have been shot so far during the Labor Day weekend, more than D.C., Philly, and New York combined. 4 hours ago, Rod Blagojevich posts this. Governor Pritzker tells Trump not to send a National Guard, saying, you are not needed here. This weekend in Chicago, 61 shot, 9 fatally. Pritzker called out the National Guard last August to protect the Democrat convention. Why won't he do it now? So President Trump had that meeting in the Oval Office where he made those remarks. And right on cue, we have where is it? Here it is. A press conference with Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker. In the press conference, immediately following Trump's remarks in the Oval, Mayor Brandon Johnson doubles down, refusing President Trump's help with cleaning up Chicago. We don't want or need military occupation in our city. But what's even more sick is what he said. Johnson says the Chicago crime problem is due to red states, not criminals in Chicago. See, Johnson needs to look outside and point fingers elsewhere rather than the failures of his own policies. Listen to this.
Occupying in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states. They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana. And that is the harsh reality, whether Republicans like it or not. Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much in the state of Illinois.
I beg to differ. Chicago residents are fed up, but here's Governor Pritzker. We've gathered information from unauthorized, patriotic officials inside the government. Now, from my own conversations, I believe it's September 18th is the deployment date. Let's listen to what Jelly Belly says.
I'm aware. So in the absence of significant federal coordination, we've gathered information from unauthorized patriotic officials inside the government and from well-sourced reporters about Donald Trump's plan, which is to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. I'm aware that the President of the United States likes to go on television and beg me to call and ask him for troops. I find this extraordinarily strange, as Chicago does not want troops on our streets. So in the...
Oh, is that right? Over the weekend, Brandon Johnson signed an executive order, which is largely ceremonial, to limit Chicago authorities from working with federal law enforcement and to try to stop Trump from sending the National Guard. He does not want the city to become safer.
At the Chicago Police, I'm signing an executive order today that will launch the Protecting Chicago Initiative. This is a project that builds on the months of preparation that we have done, that we've done that has led up to this very moment. This order affirms that the Chicago Police Department will not collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or civil immigration enforcement. We will not have our police officers, who are working hard every single day to drive down crime, deputized to do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president. We do not want to see tanks in our streets. We do not want to see families ripped apart. We do not want grandmothers thrown into the back of unmarked vans. We don't want to see homeless Chicagoans harassed or disappeared by federal agents. And so this executive order makes it emphatically clear that this president is not going to come in and deputize our police department. I'm signing an
Yeah, but it's okay when it's the DNC, right? So what are some of the Chicago residents saying? Chicago black residents are fed up. Chicago Mayor Johnson ignored the residents and signed an executive order restricting National Guard troops from wearing masks. Other provisions include allowing city employees to protect criminals and illegals and other directives.
But this, we getting ready to make this go viral. This is Chicago. This is Chicago City Council. This is how they show up. This is how they ignore the citizens. This is how they break the law. And then they want to turn around and make like we are wrong for not supporting the Democratic Party. But this is what the Democratic Party looks like in the city of Chicago, doing public speaking. They don't show up for a quorum. They on their cell phones. That's Dancing Nancy right there, who's trying to sell out South Shore to super low income condos to make the city look like the projects. Okay? Now you got Conway. You said Conway or Conway? Conway over there on his laptop because he ain't worried about a thing. He a rich white boy. Okay? And then you got Talaferro and you got Cardona right there. Okay? I'm hoping that they paying attention. Talaferro, I want my rights protected with my case. I trusted you and some other people, and I believe that you're trying to do the right thing. But you are in a corrupt situation. Get that light bulb head, Richard Rodriguez. See, looking like a Chucky doll. See how he has no respect for the citizens. Y'all want to be famous? Y'all want to be famous? Let's make them famous.
Let's make them famous. The people of Chicago are furious. Meanwhile, over the weekend, leftists used their propped-up black leader to oppose President Trump's efforts to prevent more young black deaths. Jack Lombardi posting this 24 hours ago, the left's racism on full display in Chicago. He was quote tweeting Brian Krasenstein about the massive protests in Chicago. Brandon Johnson leading chants of no troops in Chicago.
No troops in Chicago!
A lot of white folks in that crowd. I dare you to go down to the south side and see what they have to say. Randy Weingarten was there too, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, screaming.
Labor, are you ready, Chicago labor?
Are you ready, Chicago labor, to fight? That's what she's saying.
And today as we walk, we're going to fight a whole bunch of pharaohs. Whether it's Tesla or Target or Valor. What has happened in this country is that the billionaires don't understand that this country was created in protest and in resistance to fight off a king, not to recreate a king.
Oh, yeah. Spare me. Spare me. Chicago politicians use the National Guard to protect themselves during the DNC. They do not want President Trump to bring in the National Guard. This is from News Nation 48 hours ago.
Who was shot. Well, we begin with an eruption of violence in Chicago. Overnight, 5 separate shootings across the city left one 25-year-old woman dead, 7 people injured, including a 17-year-old who was shot multiple times. The violence stretching from the south side to the west side, and as of yet, no suspects are in custody. And it comes as ICE is now preparing a major enforcement operation in Chicago next week. This is part of the president's crackdown on sanctuary cities. The White House now targeting cities that limit cooperation with immigration authorities, calling them a public safety risk. Now, city officials say they haven't been contacted by the Trump administration as of yet, with Governor Pritzker calling this an invasion. Mayor Johnson just now signing an executive order in response to the possible deployment of the National Guard in Chicago. The order demanding President Trump abandon his plans to deploy the troops. Mayor Johnson also warning residents to prepare for the, quote, escalating threats from the federal government. The White House.
Oh, escalating threats. I think we have a clip here of Brandon Johnson issuing his own threats. Where is that? Okay, let's here. Okay, time to clean up the streets for Chicago. Here's a guy just filming a video. The mayor of Chicago signing an executive order preventing local law enforcement from collaborating with the National Guard to bring safety to the streets. Time to clean up the streets. Just watch this. Watch this. Life in Chicago. Oh, here's another one. Let's see. I think we got it down here. Labor Day weekend brings violence to Chicago, with dozens shot, 8 killed as of early Monday morning. This video is a cry for help as Democrats have failed their city. Send in the troops, they write.
No fun in Chicago. Everybody got to get down. Everybody got to get down because they shoot. Everybody down. Look, these kids are running. They shooting. We can't have no fun in Chicago, man. No fun, man. This is terrible. I ought to throw a goddamn flag. Cause this y'all neighborhood.
This might be over with, but I gotta figure this out.
Everybody gotta get down. Everybody gotta get down because they shoot. Everybody down. Look.
Just some of the scenes from Chicago. Taking another look here. Yuppie white Lincoln Park, Chicago left to say the National Guard isn't needed and we don't need help on the south side. Like I said, that protest footage from Labor Day looked like a bunch of yuppie white women. What does this young woman say?
Frolic at the beach. Liberals in Chicago have the privilege of being able to say that we don't need the National Guard here in Chicago. They have the privilege of saying that because they keep themselves in their careful bubbles of Lincoln Park, Wicker Park. They stay up in some of the northern areas and they go and frolic at the beach, playing volleyball and pickleball and tennis in these areas where it's clean. There's minimal crime. Of course you feel like we don't need the National Guard because you've never stepped foot on the actual south and west side. Elitist, progressives, and leftist white Chicagoans have the privilege of not needing the National Guard in order to feel safe in their communities. They walk out their door in the morning with their babies to go get a quick coffee and their kid on a scooter with a helmet. That's privilege. That's the same privilege that you claim you want to be a part of unpacking and getting away from. It's the yuppie white women in Chicago who want to scream about Trump being fascist, yet they keep themselves carefully, safely tucked away in Lincoln Park. Come to Woodlawn. And not the cute part. No, go past 63rd. Come to Auburn Gresham. Chatham. Inglewood. Get on your scooter there. And do it about 7 o'clock. Okay. If you're not going to do that, mind your business. Liberals in Chicago have the...
Oh, she sums it up perfectly. Perfectly. J.B. Pritzker last week writing, Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis. And then they post this. 79 killed, wounded. Labor Day weekend shootings. Labor Day weekend brings violence to Chicago. Nearly 60 people shot, 8 killed. 54 shot over the weekend in Chicago. As governor rejects Trump's threat to send a National Guard. Labor Day weekend 2025, Chicago been more violent than recent past years. What's Charlie Kirk saying? It's time for the federal takeover of Chicago.
Native Americans did not build Chicago. Okay, the Potawatomi Indians did not build Chicago. The Illinois tribes did not build Chicago. They occupied Chicago. They didn't build anything, okay? Very sweet, nice people. They didn't build anything. Chicago really started as a military base in 1803, Fort Dearborn. It was built largely, by the way, by the Irish and the Poles and the Czechs and the Bohemians and the Italians. And it was not built by slaves. I mean, there was a big influx of black migration that came to Chicago. And actually, before we decided to addict a bunch of our populations on government benefits, those parts of Chicago were flourishing, were safer. Chicago was largely built up after the Civil War, Mr. Mayor, but he just has to say it because it's kind of part of the modern incantation of the Democrat Party. I think President Trump should call his bluff. I think we should flood the zone. It's already working in Washington, D.C. Chicago is a next perfect test case. As I said in D.C., and people laughed at me, you bring in the tanks, you fly the drones, you send in the Marines. It worked in D.C., it will work in Chicago. People were laughing, oh my goodness, why are there tanks in D.C.? Well, it worked because the show of force is all that these good-for-nothing lowlifes, these lowlifes that are shooting people at 1 or 2 a.m., that's all they understand. These good-for-nothing lowlifes that are spraying and praying, and sometimes a 6-year-old girl gets struck on her way to school, that right there is completely unacceptable. We're not going to put up with that. In the United States of America, we're not going to put up with urban crime anymore. We're going to go city by city, block by block. And the Democrats really don't like it. The left, they don't know how to answer it because, oh, our cities are so safe, so stay away so we can keep them unsafe. Really? You guys have been complaining about how dangerous these cities are for a while. Give us more money because our cities are so unsafe. It's time for a federal takeover of Chicago. We've been calling for this for quite some time. I think we're getting closer. I think you're going to see the president pull the trigger sometime soon. What is Mayor Johnson going to do? Resist? We'll talk more.
Yeah, well, you just heard President Trump in the Oval Office today saying it is going to happen. Even Rapid Response 47 writes, even MSDNC thinks Pritzker should pick up the phone and call the president for help. Wow. Again, Joe Scarborough clearly making moves to appease President Trump, trying to get on his good side after all the trashing he did for all those years. Yeah, we got our eye on you, Scarborough.
Pritzker should do. Well, my concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this, as you say. We've been reading about this for years now, every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No.
Yeah, when he was on last week, Scarborough asked him 5 times. Would they like 5,000 more police on the street? Brandon Johnson panicked, couldn't even answer the question. I'll never forget that, man.
police officers. I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president right now, just hey, nothing to see here, moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. Well, protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. Well, my concern is you have...
That blows my mind. After Brandon Johnson signed the executive order prohibiting police from cooperating with National Guard, it's being reported it's going to be days and not weeks until the National Guard sets foot in Chicago. Democrats are once again showing they are on the side of criminals. As I told you in my last report on this, I believe it's September 18th is the date of
crime fast. Chicago officials say they're hearing it will be days, not weeks, before National Guard troops, like the ones patrolling D.C., arrive in their city over their objections.
You're supposed to serve the people. We are the people.
Over the long weekend, President Trump mentioned Chicago 3 times on social media, warning the Illinois governor to straighten out crime fast or we're coming. This weekend alone, more than 50 people were shot in Chicago, though the murder rate has fallen by 50% over the past 4 years.
Every single citizen deserves to be safe.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed on Face the Nation that a greater federal presence is coming to Chicago, starting with a surge in immigration raids.
We do intend to add more resources to those operations. I won't disclose the details because they are law enforcement and investigative folks that are on the ground there, and I want to make sure we keep their security our number one priority.
In Washington, D.C., there are now 2,300 National Guard troops armed and deployed, though by law they cannot perform law enforcement duties themselves.
This is an erratic, impulsive administration.
On Saturday, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order directing the Chicago Police Department not to collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or ICE raids.
We do not want to see...
Don't you think that collaboration would make it safer? Make it so that nobody's stepping on anyone's toes? Make sure that no one's, in the same area at the same time or whatever. I mean, you have to have some level of coordination when you have National Guard and local law enforcement. There has to be. I mean, what Brandon Johnson is doing here is he's inviting chaos with this executive order.
Tanks in our streets. We do not want to see families ripped apart. We do not...
Okay, whatever. The cartel is in Chicago. Here's that young lady, Christian Maxwell, again.
Because of the feeling safe in Chicago could cost you your life. You need to always tread lightly in Chicago because of the vast array of criminality that exists here. Just because they don't talk about it on the news doesn't mean that there aren't major issues here. One of the big issues here in Chicago is the cartel. They are behind a great deal of the drug crime here in Chicago. Just because it's not looking like what you would see in Mexico because they're not as public facing. No, there's a good deal of cartel here. So when people like myself or people who even know way more say that they need federal intervention to address things that you as a regular citizen would never know about, maybe you should trust the people who literally, it is their job to review crime reports that you just would never see. You don't know who they're investigating or what syndicates or things that they have infiltrated that are existing inside of the city and state. You don't know what the federal government knows. So how dare you? The level of arrogance that a lot of people are exhibiting right now, assuming that they know more than the federal government or know more than the people who dispatch the National Guard, the arrogance. But maybe spend some time actually doing something that's actually valuable and do some deep researching to see, like, have any cartel leaders actually been apprehended here in Chicago? What you'll quickly find is that, yes, they have. And a lot of the drugs that you see here are here because of the cartel.
You know what Donald Trump's doing, getting ready to do with the cartels, right? 6 hours ago, I Love America writes, Johnson is not smart. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson bizarrely blames Richard Nixon for surging gun violence. That looks like a New York Post headline from July 9th of 2024. Let's see what else we've got here. Here's Judge Janine railing against Pritzker.
Not enough to bring this guy Pritzker. He should be ashamed of himself to say that 54 shootings is that's not enough to bring in extra law enforcement. That is simply a denial of your obligation. It is a rejection of your oath to protect the people. Wow. This guy Pritzker.
A rejection of your oath. Oh, here is Gunther Eagleman. Look at this. Pritzker offer a walk on the lakefront. Gunther Eagleman writes, TDS Stage 5. Pritzker was just asked about the rampant crime crisis in Chicago. His only answer is, but Trump.
Right.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend.
How funny. Pritzker out there trying to work off a couple pounds. President Trump making it absolutely clear what is on the way. Oh boy. Buckle up, folks. Here's another clip.
On our street. I'm aware that the President of the United States likes to go on television.
The audio seems a little bad. My apologies. Regardless, President Trump not messing around. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is more than about crime statistics. This is about Democrats using power over people. 53 shot in one weekend, and Brandon Johnson's response, block federal help, sign executive orders, lead protests. Rod Blagojevich compared him to George Wallace standing in the doorway blocking protection for black citizens. The comparison stings because it's accurate. Even liberal media can't ignore it anymore. Morning Joe called it a disaster. Former Police Superintendent Weis exposing their lies, residents screaming for help while 8-year-olds carry guns. But Johnson would rather chant defend democracy than defend children. The same Democrats who surround themselves with guards during the DNC now deny that protection to the Southside families. Trump activated military protocol. Federal forces stand ready, but Chicago's leaders choose chaos over order, politics over people. So here's my question. Should Trump override local officials, declare a national emergency to save Chicago? Drop a yes or a no. Let's continue the conversation. You can support real journalism by checking out our American Badass series at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find a link below. Stage 4 TDS on full display. Okay. We have got the news. It's not going away. Big things happening. Military strikes. Oh, yeah. And we've got the video to prove it. The cup of sin is full of God's wrath. Is full. God's wrath will follow. Oh boy, what red states have higher crime rates except Louisiana? The BTK turned himself in? Yes, says Eliu Hernandez. Alice Hersey, yes. Give it to God, he will guide you. CC Ryder. Okay, where are we at now? Let's continue. No more super chats to speak of. Let's get into our next topic. Let's see here. Okay. Got some breaking news from the Oval Office. Donald Trump just confirmed it. The first strike against Venezuelan cartels is complete. And Maduro's response, he's begging. 3 warships, nuclear submarines, precision strikes, what started as threats just became a reality. While Maduro scrambles to arm civilians and pleads with China for fighter jets, Trump's message is clear. The cartel's reign of terror ends now. The operation launched at dawn. Special forces coordinated with naval assets, cartel infrastructure burning. But this is only the beginning. Border Czar Tom Homan confirms operations in 43 countries are next. The cartels thought they could flood our streets with fentanyl. Well, that party's over. They thought wrong. What Trump just authorized changes everything, and the details from the Oval Office will shock you. So keep on watching. Now, let me ask you something. If you've built up $100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of that riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver. The same kind being that big players are buying. So visit nextnewsgold.com today. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's time to protect what you have built. The number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Operators are standing by. Make sure you tell them that Gary Franchi sent you. So here is President Trump from the Oval Office just a few hours ago, confirming the attack.
And when you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it. We didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
And now we have the video. Eric Trump writing, as a person who has had multiple friends and children of friends die of fentanyl, nothing puts a bigger smile on my face. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, stop poisoning our citizens. Quote tweeting OSINT Defender, footage released by the Department of Defense showing today's precision strike by the U.S. Navy against a vessel belonging to the Cartel of the Suns in the southern Caribbean Sea off the coast of Venezuela. Let's go full screen on that and show you. There it is. There is the drug boat being targeted and off the Caribbean. Look at all the drugs in that boat. You can see it. It's just loaded with drugs. Another shot. Boom. Right there. Completely taken out. And the drug runners are no more. Now, this is unclassified video that has just been released, as President Trump said we'd see it. And now you're seeing it for the first time. Everyone reporting on it. Fox News, U.S. military destroying a Venezuelan drug boat in international waters with 11 Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists aboard, according to the Trump administration. The White House posting this 2 hours ago. Please let this serve as notice to anyone even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Beware. And they posted a Truth Social post by President Trump. Early this morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a kinetic strike against positively identified Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. TDA is a designated foreign terrorist organization operating under the control of Nicolas Maduro, responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and acts of violence and terror across the United States and Western Hemisphere. The strike occurred while the terrorists were at sea in international waters transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. The strike resulted in 11 terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Please let this serve as notice to anyone even thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Beware. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's President Trump's new sign-off. Jack Posobiec, military strikes on the cartel have begun. And under the shadow of the U.S. warships, Maduro begging Trump not to unleash military force, offering cooperation on drug trafficking instead, but Trump isn't buying it. From the Oval Office, he declared a Venezuela drug boat has already been blown out of the water. Let's see what Maduro is saying. Now, we translated this for you, so you don't have to hear it in his native language, but in English.
Critical problem of consumption. If you, President Trump, are truly serious about engaging in a genuine discussion regarding the fight to eradicate drug trafficking, then Venezuela, I can tell you, possesses extensive experience in this field. And I say this with all due modesty. We not only have the experience, but also a proven record of concrete, tangible results. If the other nations, following the example of our current collaboration with Colombia, if the other countries throughout South and Central America truly wish to coordinate a unified, comprehensive strategy to tackle this critical issue, this pervasive problem, among the many other profound challenges facing our continent, then we stand entirely at your disposal. Our National Anti-Narcotic Superintendency, our dedicated police forces, and our Bolivarian National Armed Forces, all staffed with professionals of the absolute highest quality, possessing impeccable ethics and unwavering morals, are prepared to offer their full expertise, provided there is a genuine, sincere desire and political will to truly confront and overcome this complex problem. President Petro has highlighted a fundamental issue, echoed by many regional leaders, the critical problem of consumption. This grave problem involves production, trafficking, the devastating impact of consumption, and the illicit laundering of astronomical sums, billions upon billions of dollars. Regarding any of these critical issues, should you wish to share our extensive experience in this ongoing struggle, we are entirely at your disposal, always in a sovereign and, of course, peaceful manner. Very well then. Now, this particular point, I've included it here because it arrived, on the Huawei mobile phone that President Xi Jinping personally presented to me, and which...
Look at him. He's there brandishing the cell phone that he got from China. U.S. launches lethal strike on vessel from Venezuela in southern Caribbean. Are we at war with Venezuela? China steps in now. This is 72 hours ago. China steps in to arm Venezuela. Tensions went through the roof. Reports suggest China has begun supplying advanced weapons and military equipment to Venezuela as U.S. warships gather nearby.
Like steel. Breaking news. China is helping Venezuela against the U.S. What you're seeing are Chinese amphibious tanks, and they are no longer confined to land. For the first time, the VN-16 and VN-18 massive amphibious war machines supplied by Beijing were filmed charging directly into the sea. Like steel crocodiles, these monsters leap into the water powered by turbines, reaching over 40 kilometers per hour before storming the beach with devastating firepower. Each one is armed with a 105 millimeters cannon and an arsenal of guided missiles. China has reportedly moved to arm Venezuela with its most advanced combat aircraft, the Chengdu J-10C and the stealthy J-20 fighter jets, against F-16 and F-35 amid rapidly rising tension with the United States. With China's backing, Venezuela now has a force capable of defending its coast and even launching amphibious assaults. And for Washington...
Now, we'll see if that actually pans out to be true, but this is the word on the street right now. Trump sending a warning to the cartels: we will use every tool, legal, financial, and military, to completely destroy you. Trump deploying 3 warships to Venezuela to hunt them down, but Venezuela struck back. Now the cartel war just became something much bigger. Phil Williams asking, are we about to see war in our own backyard? If you're not tracking the news right now, you may have missed an entire naval strike group has moved off the shores of Venezuela.
Right now, off the coast. All right, some thoughts on the morning drive. Wow. Are we about to have a war in the Western Hemisphere again? So keep your eyes on our southern waters, my friends, because what we're watching right now off the coast of Venezuela is really something to behold. And it has shades of what happened in Panama in 1989. So here's the deal. President Nicolas Maduro has recently been declared by the Trump administration to be the leader of a massive cartel called Cartel de las Soles, which is the cartel of the sun that collaborates with Tren de Aragua and the Sinaloa cartel to traffic drugs into the United States. The Trump administration has put a $50 million reward out for anyone who can provide information that would lead to the arrest and conviction of President Maduro. Maduro, by the way, is a dictator, a socialist, who has been collaborating with Russia and with China to bring their influence into our Western Hemisphere. He's also seized U.S. Oil interests and nationalized U.S. interests just for his own benefit And then on top of that, last year he voided an election to stay in power. Think back to 1989. President Manuel Noriega, a known drug trafficker, who was collaborating with Cuba and the Sandinistas and with the Soviets. Oh, by the way, he was hostile to U.S. interests. And oh, by the way, he was threatening our use of the Panama Canal. And we had to invade, take him down, arrest him, bring him back, and put him on trial. We now have a 4,500 man strike force off the coast of Venezuela. An entire Marine Expeditionary Unit with guided missile destroyers and nuclear submarines are now postured in those waters. Shades of 1989 is what I'm saying. And this would definitely send a signal to Russia, China, to all of the countries that are friendly to the cartels. It would also hopefully put a curb on drug trafficking in the U.S. But it's a big, big, big deal. Keep your eyes on it, my friends.
And that's what we're doing here at the Next News Network. We are tracking this escalation. Venezuelan President Maduro declares he would give weapons to the entire population if the U.S. attacks. If U.S. attacks Venezuela, then apart from the 4.5 lakh soldiers, the entire country's population will fight with weapons. No American Marine will be able to escape and go back. According to this source, dictator Nicolas Maduro's narco-terrorist drug cartel about to get annihilated. America, Venezuela, the entire hemisphere will benefit enormously from the destruction of the Cartel de los Soles. The United States released its first video footage of its war fleet heading towards waters near Venezuela. As part of its major anti-narcotics operation, the U.S. has deployed additional naval assets to the southern Caribbean as part of President Trump's initiative to counter Latin American drug cartels. Two anonymous sources confirmed the guided missile cruiser USS Lake Erie and nuclear-powered submarine USS Newport News are set to arrive in the region by early next week. This follows last week's deployment of an amphibious squadron, including the USS San Antonio, USS Iwo Jima, USS Fort Lauderdale, carrying 4,500 service members, including 2,200 Marines, to the waters off Venezuela. The source did not specify the mission details, but noted the deployments target narco-terrorist organizations threatening U.S. national security. Trump has prioritized combating drug cartels to curb migration and secure the U.S. southern border. In February, his administration designated Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, other drug gangs, and Venezuela's Tren de Aragua as global terrorist organizations, intensifying immigration enforcement against alleged gang members. Here's some of the footage. Some visuals from the deployment. You can see the arsenal that they are getting ready to use, all being presented. Some of that arsenal being used today, as President Trump has confirmed. 4 days ago, China reportedly planning to sell its most advanced fighter jets, the J-10C and J-20, to Venezuela, potentially taking out F-16s. Tensions with the U.S. are escalating fast. Preparing for war, Venezuela has sent troops to Colombia, and they are preparing for war with the U.S. And here is Alex Barnicoat's video discussing it.
Arrived in Venezuela just sent troops to the border with Colombia, closer to the US, just days after the US sent a fleet of warships to Venezuela. And today the US announced they sent another 2 warships to join the 3 warships that arrived in Venezuela earlier this week. But as I kind of said in response to that, today Venezuela sent 15,000 troops to the border with Colombia because of what the US has done. The Venezuelan president spoke on what the US is doing, and he said, quote, "I am confident that we will overcome this threat to the peace of the continent and to our country. Of course, though, it's incredibly unlikely that Venezuela is going to attack the US with these troops, but what it seems is that Venezuela is preparing to be attacked. If you don't know, those 3 warships that arrived in Venezuela earlier this week were carrying 4,000 Marines, which could attack Venezuela. But as I said in the video that I made on that last week, this came just a few weeks after the US increased the bounty to $50 million for anybody that arrests and prosecutes the Venezuelan president Maduro. So at least at the moment, the tensions between Venezuela and the US are skyrocketing. And if I'm honest, I really wouldn't rule out the US possibly using military force in the future. Of course, though, I'll keep you updated. And as usual, you can leave me a follow for some more global news.
Wow. So a lot of chatter about this all over the web. Here's more U.S. troops gathering near Venezuela, signaling a potential operation to capture Nicolas Maduro could come sooner than anticipated.
Has become a state. The U.S. has just deployed warships, submarines, and military forces to Venezuela's coast and is fully prepared to launch an attack because the U.S. claims Venezuela has become a state-sponsored hub for drug cartels smuggling drugs to the U.S. and the world. The U.S. has now explicitly declared its plans for a military operation and has offered a $50 million reward for the arrest of President Nicolas Maduro. It is important to note that Venezuela sits on the world's largest oil reserves, yet its economy has collapsed under harsh international sanctions. Venezuela's oil exports face severe restrictions, with the majority of its trade now limited to partners like China, India, and select Latin American countries. Any country engaging in this trade also risks facing heavy U.S. sanctions. In response to this U.S. move, Venezuela has been placed on high alert. Meanwhile, some reports suggest Russia may be secretly deploying forces to Venezuela, given Venezuela's close ties with both Russia and China. What's really behind this sudden military buildup? First, is the United States genuinely acting only to combat drug trafficking? Second, is the real goal to pressure the arrest and removal of President Nicolas Maduro? Or third, and perhaps most importantly, are America's true ambitions focused on securing Venezuela's massive oil reserves, the largest in the world? The U.S. has just deployed warships, submarines.
So we're going to wait and see how this pans out. We do have the border czar, Tom Homan. Here's some more visuals of the U.S. Navy destroyers edge closer to Venezuelan coasts, signaling major escalation in the fight against the cartels. Venezuela is prepared to defend its sovereignty. In other words, Caracas is preparing for war with Washington. Getting kind of scary over there. 6 U.S. ships are now off the coast of Venezuela. The government has mobilized 4.5 million militia. We've activated the National Guard in 19 states. Are we going to go to war with Mexico and Venezuela? Is a question being asked. Mexican cartels authorized the use of weaponized drones and explosives on U.S. Border Patrol agents and troops.
That the cartel also just got our hands on a memo out of the Rio Grande Valley sector that actually says that this is kind of crazy here, that the cartels authorized the use of weaponized drones, explosives against CBP personnel and U.S. law enforcement down there at the southern border. Now, they're actually being encouraged, of course, to remain cognizant and vigilant, but they're also being encouraged to use their long arms, Blake. I have never seen this in a CBP memo before. They say, wear your ballistic gear, yes, but they're telling them, hey, have your long arms. Yes, they are saying, watch out for these weaponized drones. We've seen a lot of infighting with 2 different factions of the cartel down in Tamaulipas, that is on the south side of the border in the Rio Grande Valley, and they have like an all-out war happening between these cartel factions. So they are warning now that they might be using these weaponized drones against U.S. personnel on this side. So definitely cause for concern there.
Wow. All this against the backdrop of the buildup in Venezuela. Here is the border czar, Tom Homan, on his strategy to dismantle the Mexican drug cartels once and for all, speaking with Jesse Waters on Fox.
Cartels are getting craftier. They're obviously trying to adapt to what you're throwing at them. You're seeing this video now. They're on boats. How have you seen the coyotes and the cartels kind of reorient their business to handle what you've done?
Look, they are going more maritime. We knew they would. That's why we've increased Coast Guard patrols 3 times, 3 times more than we have in the past. So Coast Guard will answer that call. So we're going to shut them down maritime too. Look, we're going to put them out of business. President Trump is designating them criminal terrorist organizations, which they should be. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in this world combined. President Trump will end up wiping them off the face of the earth because we're going to put them out of business. You put them out of business, you take their money away. They can't bribe Mexican officials. They can't bribe anybody. Without money, they have no power. And we're not just going to attack in Mexico. The Jalisco Cartel, we're going to attack them in the 43 countries that currently operates in 43 different countries. We're going to attack them worldwide.
Worldwide. And you just saw the first strike video that happened this morning. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this changes everything. Trump's Oval Office confirmation of strikes against Venezuelan cartels marks a historic shift. We're no longer playing defense. Maduro's begging fell on deaf ears. His threats to arm millions empty. His pleas to China and Iran desperate. The first precision strikes hit cartel infrastructure at dawn. And this is just phase 1. Tom Homan's revelation about operations in 43 countries mean the cartel's global network faces annihilation. No more sanctuary cities, no more safe havens, no more poisoning American kids with fentanyl. When over 1,000 cartel drones breach our airspace monthly carrying explosives, when they deploy IEDs and RPGs like military units, they stopped being criminals, they became enemy combatants. Trump promised every tool, legal, financial, military. Today he delivered. The message to every cartel from Sinaloa to Caracas. America is done negotiating with narco-terrorists. So the question is, should cartels be officially designated as terrorist organizations, yes or no? Sound off below. Let's continue this conversation. You can get your American Badass gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, where you can trigger a liberal. Today, you'll find a link down below. So what do you guys think? Why is there a city in Minnesota? Yeah, I heard about that. That's kind of scary. Bathtubs are DEI for salads. What? Cool guy Elvis. The deeper the blue, the greater the revival. Our enemies, Russia and China, working in our backyard with Venezuela. Trump is now stopping it. Cambodia needs peace. Yes, most definitely, says Ron the Don. What else are you guys talking about in here? They have no idea what's in their backyard right now. Douglas Hine, yes, definitely yes. So, folks, we've witnessed history being written in real time from the Oval Office. So let's recap the earthquakes shaking the establishment to its core. The Trump death hoax didn't just fail, it became a mirror showing America the left's true face. While they typed death wishes and lost careers, Trump golfed and Bill Clinton needed medical equipment just to travel. The Democrats wished death on the wrong man, and karma came collecting with pink slips and public humiliation. From the Oval Office, Trump confirmed what changes everything. The first strike against Venezuelan cartels succeeded. Maduro's begging couldn't stop American firepower from destroying cartel infrastructure. Phase 1 complete, 42 countries to go. When cartels use military weapons and tactics, they get military response. The war on drugs just became an actual war. Chicago's tragedy deepens as Trump orders troops to Great Lakes Naval Base ready to save the city that Brandon Johnson refuses to protect. 53 shot, 8 dead, and Johnson's leading protests instead of accepting help. Even Morning Joe can't spin it anymore. When 8-year-olds carry guns and mayors choose politics over lives, federal intervention isn't optional. It's a moral imperative. And Stuart Rhodes breathing free air while his persecutors promote assassination fantasies. The same crowd celebrating Shakespeare's Trump murder wants to silence a man who told people to stay out of the Capitol. 18 years for words while leftists openly call for violence. That's not justice, that's persecution. And September 10th through the 12th, Turning the Tide 2025 promises to crack the 9/11 case wide open. Senator Johnson, former Congressman, whistleblowers, all converging on D.C. to ask forbidden questions about Building 7. 24 years of lies meeting their reckoning. Now, these aren't isolated events. They are connected victories in the war for America's soul. From death hoaxes to cartel strikes, from Chicago's chaos to Rhodes' freedom, from hidden truths to Oval Office action, the system that they have built upon deception is collapsing. So to everyone who sent in super chats and rumble rants, you guys are the fuel that keeps truth alive. Your support matters, your voice counts, and your courage inspires. So tell everybody about the Raw feed. Text the link, repost it everywhere. Break their algorithms with truth. Make sure you visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com to wear your Next News gear with pride. Remember, we're not just documenting news, we are witnessing the greatest political reversal in American history. Trump promised to drain the swamp. Today from the Oval Office, he pulled the plug. They want him dead. He's more alive than ever. They wanted cities burning. He's sending troops. They wanted cartels winning. He's destroying them. They wanted the truth buried. Well, it's exploding everywhere. So stay strong, stay vigilant, and stay tuned. This is Gary Franchi reminding you that in the battle between lies and truth, truth doesn't just win, it conquers. We'll see you next time on the Raw feed. Until then, keep fighting for America.